Welcome to our first sales call in August and also our brand new podcast, No Referral Needed. We'll also carry this content. So we're excited you can join us on YouTube or on wherever you listen to podcasts. Hopefully it's Spotify. So today we are going to actually talk about something very new to my own individual practice. And it is how to use memberships, but also what I want you thinking about, what is one patient really worth? Like that's actually where I want your mindset today. So most of the providers that we work with, whether that's coaching or licensing, they would say that their goal is to get more patients, is like if they are wanting to increase their productivity, what they're bringing in, their goal is to increase their number of patients. But what the mindset I want to have for you today is the real goal is actually to increase the value of each of those patient relationships. So Shania, if I asked you, what is a new patient worth to you? Think monetarily. What is a new patient worth to you? What would you tell me?
$1,000.
$1,000. Okay. Well, dang it. As usual, Shania is a little bit ahead of the game because what I thought you would say is whatever the price of your eval is. So $200, $300, $194, because that's what mine are. And so what I want you to see is, so she is already forward thinking in that, which is why she's on leadership here. So one patient is not actually worth just the price of an eval, right? So with us, so she said $1,000. But so I would say where I want you thinking is like, okay, if you charge for an eval, so initial evaluation, and you charge $194, the way that we do our programs and our packages is we say, hey, it looks like, in my experience, it's going to take you 4 visits, 6 visits, 8 visits. We even go up 10 and 12 for some, but just for ease of this call. So we're at $194. So if you've got a 4-visit package, so that's going to be the eval plus the 4 visits. That's going to get you at about $600. So if you're at a 6th visit plus the eval.
And then what are you breaking down that price per visit, Kelly? Can you tell us about that?
The price per
What
visit?
is that price? Yeah, just so they can kind of see.
So the way that we do it is we offer a 10% discount for each visit. So if your eval is $194, but your individual price, like for us, is $164.99. So that is going to get you, your 10% obviously is going to be minus that $16.49. And so that's going to get you at something that I can't do on the fly, but you're going to be in like the $150 range. So it's going to be a little bit more affordable for that patient, which is why we say, hey, if you pay this ahead of time. But that does a couple of different things that if you want more information on, I invite you to take a look at some information that we will soon have on the website about packages and how we use those. But so that's how we're getting that number. That's how we're getting from here to this number. So with 4 visits, you're going to be at about 600. With 6 visits, you're going to be at almost 900. So 900 there. And then the 8 visit. So I do most of the 6 visit is where I usually live. That just works best for my plan of care and most of my patients. So with the 8 visit, you're at almost $1,400. But that is how we get all of those. We change it a little bit when the packages get bigger, at least my practice does. So this is like your real numbers, right? Like this is like, okay, that's the eval, that's the 4-visit package, 6, 8. So when they come in, you kind of know, okay, this is about how much this patient is actually going to pay into the practice, right? So if you spend $1,000, and this is going to be an activity I want everybody watching this to do when this is done. If you spend $1,000 on marketing and you're going to get 5 new patients, we're going to calculate something called your customer acquisition cost. So actually, I'm going to change markers here. So have you heard of that phrase before, Shania?
Not that a specific term, not that way it's written, but a similar verbiage, yes.
Okay. So you spent $1,000. So you say you spent $1,000 on Google Ads per month.
Maybe it's known as CAC. Is that right?
Yeah, possibly. Because I mean,
Okay,
that's,
that's why
yeah,
I think.
CAC. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. I think just when it's spelled out for me, but yeah, I
yeah,
understand where you're going.
yeah. So you're CAC. So you spend
Uh-huh.
$1,000, you get 5 new patients. So how much did that cost you to get each of these patients, right? So it's going to be 1,000 divided by the 5, right? So it's going to be each new patient cost you $200. So if I was to say to you, hey, would you be willing to spend, let's do it this way. Would you be willing to put $200 in the slot machine if I told you you were going to get $1,100 out? Like, what would your answer be?
Every single time, and I don't even gamble.
Yeah, every single time. And I love to gamble. This is not even a gamble. It's not a gamble, right? When you truly know your CAC, it's actually not a gamble.
Hmm.
And so that would be my question for our providers and other listeners is like, do you really know what you're spending to get that patient? But
Hmm.
also, because I do a lot of paid ads, but Shania actually doesn't do a paid ad. So like
Hmm.
this number actually represents something different because what are other ways that you would say you pay in to get a new patient? Like what would that look like for you, Shania?
So just before we hopped on this call, I got two new referrals. Didn't do any marketing for them, but
Way to go.
it was, thank you. It was a specific incident where I spent time with the dad and I did a free injury consult screen. I only saw him twice because it was a prehab instance, but he
Okay.
loved that so much. I've treated him for several injuries that he referred me two of his family members.
Okay.
So,
So
for
injury
instance,
screen.
in that, yep, it is bread and butter and people love to talk. So that is a pay in for me because I don't get any monetary reward for that. I book it out for 15 minutes. Sometimes if people are long-winded, it's 30, and that's a $0 revenue cost, but it's costing me my time, right? So that's
Mhm.
what I do. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So an injury screen, a phone call, time,
Mhm.
because I am way more likely to give you $1,000 than I am to spend 2 hours with you because I just don't have any time, right? Like if,
Mhm.
if I needed something, like I do not have 2 extra hours in the week to be able
Mhm.
to get new patients. But what I do have
Mhm.
is $1,000 because I know it's going to give me this. That's for
Mhm.
another lesson. However, I do want to think about, so stay tuned, but I do want to think about like, what are the other ways that you are paying in, that our providers are paying in to be able to get that. So you say CAC, is that what you say? Is that
Mhm.
what the
I
trendy
think
kids say?
no, I think that's an Alex Ramosi thing. I'm going to credit him.
Okay. So Alex says CAC. So
Uh-huh.
for me, it's going to be ad spend divided by the number of patients, right? So for Shania, it's going to be injury screens.
Hmm.
What are other ways our providers are doing that right now, do you think?
I think organic social media is big. I mean, we still do that on a
Yeah.
corporate level too. And that gets a
Yeah.
lot of DM inquiries, so I would say that's a good one too.
Absolutely. Social media. And so, then you're dealing with like, yeah, am I learning how to use the social media correctly? Am I like the time to film, the time to edit, the time to get copy,
Hmm.
all of that kind of stuff. So for me, I mean, a lot of it is time, right? So we have to know,
Hmm.
and that's another important point, like what is your time worth? Like I know
Hmm.
that my time is I would say is always worth $194 an hour or more
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I know that if I'm in the office and I can see a new patient, that's my potential to earn.
Yep, I love
And so
that.
that's another thing to think about, right? But these are
Hmm.
all ways, these are all CACs, right?
Hmm.
So after that initial plan of care, I will typically have patients that will come in like, I just need some dry needling. I just need some cupping. Hey, this is flared up again. Can I kind of get like more of a tune up? Almost, I do a lot of like recovery type sessions
Hmm.
for my middle school athletes. And so the big thing is that relationship that I had
Hmm.
formed with them. And just like with you, with that injury, that phone call,
Hmm.
and him sending his family members, that
Hmm.
relationship is the asset,
Hmm.
not just the evaluation, right? So your job is not necessarily to find more patients. Your job is actually to increase the value of every relationship you already have,
100%.
right? So your job is not to find more patients, it's to increase the value of every relationship that you already have within that practice. So the way that
Hmm.
we encourage our providers to do that, one way is just by looking at visits to patients who haven't been scheduled again, right? Like,
Hmm.
hey, how was that? Did you just had that baby? How are they doing? How is your knee after you ran that marathon? Like that is
Hmm.
increasing your value, and that is keeping in mind the very top asset or the goal of what you're doing is that relationship, not just the evaluation, right? So what I would
Yes.
encourage. everyone listening to do is I want you to go into however you're calculating. For us, it's Jane, and I want you to see how many new patients you had for the last year. So say you got 100 new patients, right, last year, and you brought home 80K, right? And so that's 80,000. So how much revenue how many new patients? This is new patients. This is revenue. And that's probably likely. Like if you've got 100 new patients, that probably is pretty likely, because I'll show you how I know that. And then I want you to divide that revenue, so that 80,000 by 100, and that is going to estimate your average revenue per patient. And so here is 800. So that's probably like pretty standard for what I just said, because that's what we were saying with our packages. It's about $800, right? So what you're calculating right here is actually called, the term for it is the lifetime value. So that's the lifetime value of each patient. So everybody who walks through your door, what are you likely to make off of that? And this is one of the dials that you can learn to turn up or down. Now, if you're at a spot where you're at max capacity, like I don't know that I could see that many more people a week right now. It would be very hard for me, because I would have to sacrifice time with my kids and my family, right? And I'm not at a point where I feel like I'm at a good price point. So like for me, how do I increase this lifetime value? So that's what I want you to think about. Increase what?
Your price?
My price. Well, so I was saying, like, so what if you're not at a point where you want to, or feel like you should increase your price, and you don't have any more time, right? That's our most finite resource. But we do want to increase the lifetime value. So I would propose that one way to do that is through memberships. Because like I said, you still are having these patients that are coming back, oh, I need dry needling, I need this tune-up, I need all of this stuff, right? And so I feel that and at least that's what we're starting to do at our dripping practice, is by adding the increasing that lifetime value, and we're going to do that through our memberships. Have you heard of many practices initiating any of those memberships, Shania? Have you heard of cash pay or read about it or seen any of it?
Not as much here, but I know this isn't direct correlation, but a lot of med spas and estheticians, they have been on this train for quite some time, massage therapy, things like that. So I don't think it's too far off. I just think it's not as traditional in our, our profession as a whole.
And the exciting thing about that is that we can actually just kind of have free reign of like, okay, what do we want these memberships to look like? So one of the ideas I'm toying with, because like I said, my eval is at 164. So I'm kind of playing around with a couple of different ideas. Right now I have a membership set at $149.99, and they're going to get either 2 half-hour visits. Let's do it this way so we can see. So 2 half-hour visits, or 1 full hour, or 1 full. They get an exercise progression all in that, and then they get 10% off of other booked services. And so that would be for the people. So the draw of that, for me, is that's predictable income. So like if they keep that times 12 months, whatever 12 times 149.99 is, you know what I mean? Whereas prior to that, their lifetime value might have started at like at 800. It could have gotten them up to about 1,200. But this is going to be far and above more than that, right? And it's also, they're going to feel heard, they're going to feel supported. Some other ideas I've toyed around with is doing like maybe a 45-minute session at this price, priority scheduling. So I think that's the other thing, is like, how do you increase the value without increasing the time spent with the patient? Because like I said, I'm maxed out time. So this is why I actually don't know that I'll stay here. But this is just to get the ball rolling, because any kind of idea, any kind of activity, even if it's not going to work out exactly like I want it, is better than inactivity, right? So just to get the ball rolling, I'm going to start this membership out this way. But there's a lot of different ideas, like if there is some kind of guided exercise, maybe there's some kind of drop-in recovery services. For a lot of our providers, they're mobile. So like, is there some kind of, check-in that they can do every month, maybe meeting them at the football field, maybe, there's another one I read about where you're doing like maybe this price with a 45-minute, maybe bank 2 months worth. You might allow them to do that, bank 2 months worth. then offer some kind of family credit. So you see what you're doing is you're trying to like increase that value that that patient feels without increasing necessarily your time with them, but you're still offering them a premium service. So
Love
that's where I
that.
want your head to be for memberships. And that is how you increase the lifetime value of each customer.
I love that. I do have a big question about like group. So like another thing that you didn't touch on, but's going through my head, especially with your athletes, is like running a group membership option because like one to
Oh, I
many
like
is
that.
kind of where you're going with ads, right? Like the one to many
Mm-hmm.
advertising, but like what I've toyed around with personally, and obviously everyone who is listening doesn't know my background, but I'm, doing physical therapy and personal training. So it's like sometimes, and this might be the case for this new inquiry too with the new eval, where it's a husband and wife where they might come together, but one might be doing their exercises, the other one's working. So have you thought about like, because I know you treat a lot of like parents and kids too, Kelly. So have you thought about like a family or group membership option?
No, I haven't, but I actually love that idea. And I think that might be somewhere that I just need to brainstorm about a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I treat a lot of siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I treat a lot of kiddos going through like just the same pathology where maybe they're just needing some maintenance type things where
Yeah.
maybe part of my membership is that I have certain like drop in exercise hours where they can just come in and do their exercises. And maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
not even a manual, it's like just a
Ooh,
guided,
watch.
like I'm going to
Yeah.
watch you. So
Uh-huh.
that could be where I could really add some value, but that's not going to take away like a lot of time, you know?
Yeah, and accountability too, because like when they have it
Mm-hmm.
scheduled, they're more apt to show, even if it's not like a full program revamp, but it's like, hey, I looked at your squat, you have a little knee valgus on the right, let's tweak that, let's get a band on, I'll watch you, and then you're like, boom, that was it. The small tweaks
Yeah.
go a long way. I like this, so it's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And maybe it's like a virtual check-in, like with telehealth and
Hmm.
watch a little bit of movement. That's like a 15
Yeah.
minute check-in. Like that could be something that could really increase the value for that patient, prevent
Hmm.
a lot of injuries, but it's not taking away like a full hour of your treatment time.
Hmm.
And you can do it from whenever, wherever.
Yeah, I think those are great. I've been doing those too if it's a close to discharge situation. So I have one in like 2 weeks, $89, 20 minutes, and it just holds accountability. They don't feel like they're totally off the calendar yet. And just one last little whoop, are you good? And then, if not, we can always reschedule an in-person session, but it just makes them feel heard. I like that.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Yes. So hopefully this is very helpful. Because if you could even just what if you increase the lifetime value like $100 for 100 patients? That's
It's
still
awesome.
significant, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yes, well,
Awesome.
exciting stuff and so many possibilities. So, before you go, we would love to hear what your biggest takeaway was today. Love to tell you for you to tell us in the comments while you're here and let us know what topics you want next. Hit follow so you stay in the loop and find us on Instagram at Concierge Ortho so you can see us in the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.